Luger. I can't get enough of that, man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comics Della Morte. Ooh, we got Gary coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. What's up, Gary?
And
how's it going,
perfect
guys?
timing, because I actually put your special guest and your name in the new intro video. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
But welcome back to another episode of Comics Della Morte. I'm your episode 38, birthday bash and horror cliches. I'm Ronnie Gunter, Crimson Isle Comics, my co-host Frogbreaker Studios, and as always, our awesome guest that always likes to come on, and we appreciate it, Gary Hodges, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots.
Thank you.
Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, man. Like one of my favorite reads of 2021. Like it's still something I go back to, man. It's such an awesome book. The artwork is stout. The writing is on point. It's a fantastic book, man. So if y'all ain't got it, go get it.
I appreciate.
Where are you located? Because I just realized you got a skeleton in the back.
I do a lot of my. Hold on, I'm getting my windows organized here. I do a lot of my video broadcasting these days from my day job office. In case anyone from work is watching, I'm off the clock. Settle down, relax. But like
everybody's cool here. We're just having some fun.
But my internet connection at home is real spotty, and it gets a lot of the freezing and having to go back in. So it's like when there's something like this, it's like I'll just do it from the office. So but this is my work office. My job, I do a lot of among other things, anatomical illustrations, things like that. So I've got some references here and there, books and fake skeletons and what have you, skulls. I have a lot. Let's see if you can see here. I got,
look at this
little
nice.
So
those skulls reminds me of Young Frankenstein. Like one's going to be a fresh head.
One guy right there. Yeah. So,
no,
but thank you. I appreciate the kind words about the comic, and I hope for anyone out there who's into D versus M. If you follow me on social media, you already know this, but I got my first draft of the next installment done. And so now I'm in kind of the revision, editing, polishing stage. So it's happening. I hate to commit to dates. And if you've watched my videos in the past, like dates can slip and you can get stymied and you can, you feel like you have it on the right track.
Right now, pick up his books.
There you go. But right now I'm thinking I'll probably spend the next month or two polishing, getting some feedback, that kind of stuff. I'll probably spend most of the rest of the year planning with gathering references, figuring out my research for it's another period thing. So clothing and stuff like that. Probably will start gathering people who want to be models for references, start page planning, start doing all my thumbnailing, and then start drawing. And I'm hoping it'll come out next year. So there you go. Right exciting. Now I'm saying probably D versus M 1979, the third installment in the D versus M saga next year. But
sweet.
That's pretty exciting news. So I like it. I won't hold you to the date, but
please that's my kind of rough. I think that sounds doable to me. I'm not going to commit to when next year. I don't know if it'll be March or November. I don't know, but let's say next year. So.
Yeah, it sounds good, man. I'm excited to see it whenever it does come out. And I definitely would not mind getting my peepers on that script one of these days.
Well, I did reach out to I was like, at some point I'm going to need that. Once I get a couple revisions in.
Yeah.
And I feel okay, I think I'm getting it about where I think it needs to be. Now's a good time to get some other eyes on it. That's when I'll start probably kind of quietly reaching out to some of you guys and being like, hey, if you want. And some people don't want to either because they're not comfortable, which I understand, or they're like, you know, I want the surprises. I want to see the finished thing and I want to read it fresh. It's like, that's cool. But if someone's like, yeah, I would like to see like a script and like, you might pick your brain a little bit. How does it read? How does it make you feel? What do you think about this? Does this work? Et cetera, et cetera. But
pretty sweet.
I'm always happy to throw my 2 cents in for what it's worth.
Cool.
What you got cooking, Ronnie?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. Minicomicbundles.com. Y'all know what time it is. We are up to bundle 7. It's coming out very, very soon. This is actually a sample bundle that we have on the site that you can read. Hourglass number 3 in its entirety. It became one of my favorite stories in the whole book. I mean, in the whole campaign. It ran for the first 6 months. If you don't know, if you're watching this on a replay, I feel like most of us know what the score is with the minis. You get 3 8-page mini comics every month. They're each limited to 250 copies, so they have a very strong collector aspect. They're delivered right to your door every month. They're printed on newsprint, so they feel the way comics used to feel. You know, $5 a month. You can pay one-time annual. I'm not sharing my screen. Y'all, what is wrong with me? Oh my goodness gracious. Look at this. You know what? I'm still talking. So y'all know what I'm talking about. Now you can see it. So $5 a month. You can pay annually for the year, right? If you pay for the year, you'll get a subscriber login, which gives you access to webcomics, gives you access to some flash fiction that I'm gonna write. And you get a sneak peek at what me and Aaron might be cooking up, you know, after this campaign is over. Right now, we got a horror story in the message. We got Home Run, which is told on the outskirts of Gilead City, which is a 3-part story that's coming up next month. It's a, if you guys have heard me talk about ransom notes, this is, Home Run and Gilead City are kind of like it's a fever dream in ransom notes. So it gives you a kind of an idea of the world. It's not the same at all, but it's just kind of like an homage to writing ransom notes. And you know, it's something that I enjoy seeing Aaron's artwork. So it's something that I'm pretty excited to see what he does with it, because this is like my writing, right? Like Gilead City, Home Run. These are stories that like I resonate with, because this is where it all started for me. And this will give you an idea, and it'll also give me a good talking space to start introducing ransom notes into everybody's consciousness. So check out the website though. I'm gonna get rambly if I don't stop. Check out the website, minicomicbundles.com. You got 3 samples bundles, so you can see the artwork from the books. You can get an idea of the temperature that we try to set, which is ever changing. But it's a pretty fun ride, guys. Check us out, minicomicbundles.com.
All right. And for me, Jason and some other people, they've seen some character designs. They got a chance to read some of my scripts that I got going on for the first episode that's going to be on Tempest at the end of the month. And I'm really happy the way it's going. So that's going to be awesome.
Ronnie sent me a couple of images this week from the book, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see it. And yeah, I called it a book. It's a webcomic, but you read it, it's a book. So enjoy. I can't wait.
For sure.
I'm eager to see it too. I can't wait.
Yeah. Appreciate that. And for everyone that's out there, or everyone that's going to watch this on the replay, thank you for supporting the show. It is 1 year well, a couple of days. Our actual birthday was on Monday, but a whole year doing this show. I'm really glad we had great guests like Gary, Scott Serklin, just so many good books that came along, and even Russ giving us his book to review for free. Just really great stuff. So
is Robert Ogre considered a guest since he just kind of left all of a sudden? But I still say, man, like those early episodes, we had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
for sure.
You know, when we reviewed Russ's book and we started with I guess you would call it a golden age book, right? The EC Comics our anthology we did. That was I did not expect to enjoy that. And I was like, man, I thought we were talking about horror. I was like, this is kid stuff. But like once I started reading those stories, they were awesome. Like I loved it. But I'm glad that we progressed faster than what we planned on, like through the decades. It was just it was such a fun ride. Yeah.
Yeah, and besides like reviewing the books, it's just great getting together with a bunch of creators and just come up with episodes like this where we just talk about horror in general.
Yeah.
So, you know, why get the generator up? For anyone that doesn't know, we're going to be doing a little fun thing on the show. Yeah. Where we have a generator that's going to come up with a random monster, and we have to write a short story on the fly for it.
So I have a quick question. Are we each getting a random monster, or are we all getting the same random monster?
We're all getting different ones.
Okay. All right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right.
And
it's like the Olympics.
Right? And before we get into the generator, let's talk about horror cliches. There's so many of them, and it's one that really sticks out to you.
Okay.
Like I would go off with one of the biggest cliches is if you have sex in the movie, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, that's why most of the time in the one to live and the one who kills the killer is usually the virgin or the one that's not basically having fun.
And if someone's gonna die, it's for sure the slut. It's like that's yeah. That is a big that's one of the handful that I'm just so tired of seeing. Like it's just so weird, and so like I don't even understand. It's just this weird. To me, it just feels like a weird puritanical leftover, of like we're gonna put some morality play in our horror movie, and it's very antiquated morality play where it just it totally checks me out when I see that.
Yeah, it's close to tacky sometimes.
Yeah,
and that goes into another one. The whole stereotype cliches, like anyone who hasn't seen the movie Cabin in the Woods.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I have not seen Cabin in the Woods.
I haven't seen that one either. It's
a good movie. It's a good movie.
Ever since The Thing, I've been like stuck in that 80s horror period. Like, it's like usually it's like 2 hours that I get quiet. I'm like, you know what? Let's just find I started with Nightmare on Elm Street, and that first one was a scary movie. Like it was just a horror movie. I loved it. But in cliches, I gotta say the one that you shared with us, Gary, of impossibly running from something in the worst way ever. Like
that's right, that video.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, like falling over and fumbling around and stumbling and sliding.
I just feel like at a certain point, if I knew I couldn't run from Freddy, I would run to Freddy. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go out fighting at least, but no, impossibly running from something when you can't run away and you sprain your ankle.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
You're running across an obstacle course. The one that there's a few that I'm just 100% over, but the one that I think that bothers me the most is the monster
that goes,
killer or whatever isn't actually
that goes into
dead.
one. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Isn't actually dead. Like
Yes.
they seem like they're dead. But there's this one last
basically
like
immortal.
they jump up, and try and take one last swipe. Like I find that really that is to me like hacky.
Yeah.
Like, that's so silly.
The only movie that I really enjoyed that in, and it was a movie I've got to see like in my middle 20s, was Saw, where this guy's laying in the floor, and I'm gonna spoil it. Good. Sorry, y'all. That was good. Yeah,
that was good because it was this whole time. Yeah, that was interesting.
That was sharp. I really dug that. I thought that was awesome.
But what I'm not totally a fan of is usually, and I guess it's like a whole constellation of things where like the villain or monster or whatever is seemingly dead. And then there's like the tearful hug of relief. While in the background, the body is just sitting there, like all that stuff, like that checks me out. Like I can't, it's like, this is stupid. I think I could be wrong. Someone will probably tell me if I am, but I do enjoy when there's little like winks at that. Like, I think Army of Darkness, at one point, one of the monsters, like Ash has seemingly killed one of the monsters, and someone goes up to look at it, and he like grabs that person. It's like, stop it, it's a trick, like. And I kind of it's like, at least now we're acknowledging like this is normally what would happen,
right?
And we're not doing that, but
and that just goes into two other cliches: running away from the killer by going upstairs, or even a worse one. If the killer has a vehicle, instead of running into the woods, you run on the street.
Directly away from it, on the street.
Yeah,
where it can,
on the street.
In clear view of his headlights.
Right?
Yeah. When you're way more nimble. Well, I hate to say it because, it's a great movie and it's a classic and it's not really horror, maybe sort of. But the original Terminator movie has both those. It has like people being chased by someone in a truck, where it seems like it'd be real easy just to make a hard left or right and go down an alley or something, or like between two buildings, and like, what's the truck going to do? And it does the part where like Terminator wrecks and there's a big fire, and the three, like Kyle and Sarah Connor, are just sitting there like, oh, we did it, like, like hugging each other. In the background, you see like stuff moving around as it's climbing out. Like, it's both those kind of cheesy things. It's a great movie. And maybe it wasn't as played out whenever that came out. Like, I'm assuming that's
right
mid 80s or something. I don't even remember when.
I think Terminator was 84, but
like maybe it wasn't
movie.
I don't think you could get away with that now. Like with either one of those, because you remember Prometheus got a lot of hell for a lot of things, but like at the end of the movie, Charlize Theron and the other, I can't think of the actress's name. I can't pronounce it even if I could think of it. But they're like running away from the big round ship that's like rolling after them like a wheel.
Yeah.
And like neither one, like they're like Charlize Theron is just getting like flattened like a cartoon character rather than just turn left or turn right, and like it's the same kind of thing. It's like, what are you doing? And
like the
everyone was meant that. It's like, what is she doing? Why is she running? Like, this would be the easiest thing in the world to dodge. So maybe you could get away with it in the Terminator era, but I don't think you can now.
Yeah, it's a different time, but how fortunate are we to get? I don't know. The Terminator era, like, I've just now started to like look up analysis videos of it, and it's like, it's Frankenstein's monster, and it's also something that you can't. It's hard to do in telling a sci-fi horror story in a city on Earth, like that's a regular city. Like, that's, I don't know. I just think it's a pretty dope.
For sure. And when you think of that pitch, like this is straying a little off, that we'll steer it back. But like, if you think of that pitch for Terminator, like that has straight to video B movie written all over it. Like, that's a great example. There are many examples, but that's one good example of execution being king, where like when you really think about that story, it's not that, like, that could have been bad in about 18 different ways. really cheesy and really silly. And it could have been like this B movie cult classic that maybe some people had seen, but nobody took seriously. But it became like this massive thing just on the basis of sheer execution. Like, I mean, that he nailed it. He stuck the landing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it also could have easily been like this weird pseudo Christian Left Behind type movie. Because
all sorts of weird,
I mean, you got I can't remember the guy's name that came from the future, who is the father of the savior of humanity,
right?
But he doesn't really exist in that time period. You know, he's from eons after. So it's just like, it's a very cool. I think that the best stories can be crackpot if you turn left or right, and trust me. Mm-hmm. I'm the authority on crackpot stories.
You can testify on this. Yeah,
I'm the Tony Stark guy. Remember?
That's that's right. That's right. It's all Tony's dream. It's all Tony's sedated fantasy.
It was.
All right.
It was his eulogy.
I have the generator up.
Monster generator.
Yeah, like so there's many ones I found online. Well, what I'm gonna do? Who wants to go first?
Oh, I can take my medicine. I'll go first.
Okay.
But is this the 6? Like it's gonna be one of these 6?
No, you could type in like how many results you want to come up with. So I'm gonna put it to 1, and I'm gonna press generate, and you have to take the first monster that it gives.
All right, I'm ready.
All right.
Oh, you got to take the first one? Oh my goodness.
Yep. Well, only one. Ready? What?
Oh.
God damn it. All right. Well. All right.
All right. Jason, you ready?
I guess it's me. I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
Or do you want to go last?
No, I'm ready.
All right.
Me mine.
Werewolf. So dog themed so far. All right.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of canine. What's left? I guess.
Oh my gosh, what the hell is that?
A basilisk. Why are we getting the weird folklore creatures? And that's okay. Good luck with that. I thought mine was a pain in the ass, but now you got the basilisk. So
okay. Know. So what is this? Is this the idea of a story? Is this what?
Basically, you just get a monster, and then you have to create a little short story all around that creature.
Oh my goodness gracious! Okay.
Is it so? Are we doing basically like? I have 2 questions. First of all, how much time are we like? What? How? And then second, are we doing like kind of a pitch, or are we trying to come up with something as fleshed out as we can in that like a very short story in that amount of time?
Yeah, you could pretty much come up with like just a 4-paragraph thing as much as you feel comfortable to do within an hour-long show.
No pressure, Gary.
So basically, I need to get my concept dialed in about 15 minutes and then just start polishing.
You should have had your concept dialed in before we started.
I should have been writing concepts all this week. But I have to tell you, I was sitting there brushing my teeth today thinking like, I hope I don't get a mummy, because what the hell would I do with a mummy? And then I got Cerberus, which is like, I mean, I would kill for a mummy right now. Mm-hmm. Like that would be the easiest thing in the world.
At least it was on your mind at first, right?
At least I've been thinking about it. Yeah. All right. Okay. So then, and you said each of us will have time to sit and work while people are talking, or how are we doing this?
Yeah, for sure. So you got your character first, and we'll let you write a little. But if Jason, if you want to write too while we're talking and everything, go right ahead, because I'm probably gonna write as well.
I'm gonna mute. Right. I'm gonna be listening to you guys, but I'm gonna mute, and I'm gonna do a quick little Google crash course on the Greek guardian of the underworld, and see if something comes loose. But Thanks a lot, guys. So glad I came tonight.
Hey, this is all new for me too, man. I love it.
By the way, lose my number. This is it. This is my last appearance. No,
this is it.
This is fun. This is good. This is okay.
The week where everything fell apart.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Werewolf. All right.
So Jason.
So yes, sir.
How do you feel? I mean, let's see. How do you feel about the cliche of rising tension when nothing is about to happen? I hate that because
I think that's a waste. It's like going to the arcade.
It is
with no
because
quarters.
you're literally expecting a jump scare and then nothing happens and then you get the jump scare. But sometimes that's effective because you're not expecting it.
Right.
But it gets people's hypes up and everything.
Yeah, I don't believe. I mean, I think we talked about that on the jump scare video. I just don't believe in overdoing it for the sake of doing it. But I also don't believe in teasing it because I don't feel like I don't feel like your scare is strong enough. If you have to tease it, like just make your best bite, like and live with it. So no, I don't. I'm not a fan of pointless rising tension.
Gotcha. And another thing we could say is that we've seen a lot of horror movies, and there are people in those movies like the survivors where you get people that are really strong and they could fight, but yet for whatever reason, the killer could take them down easily. But if you have the main character, it seems like they literally dummy down the killer just so they could have the main character win, even though that you knew that this person could have done a lot better job to take out the killer.
Yeah, so I guess that's something new. That's something new for me is like in the older horror movies, it's like you have this unstoppable killing machine. But then when he starts to lose, like he becomes like a giant monster baby. Like, why? Like, why are you like that's not how you've been for 2 hours? And all we had to do was like push you backwards and knock you off balance. Like, why? I don't know. Like, that's just like I just feel like some things need to be evil till the end. And
like it has to be a constant threat.
It should be. Yeah, like it should be killing you to kill it. Not in a physical, not in a literal sense, but it shouldn't be like this solution of, oh, you're the soul of a baby. And if I hold you near a crib, I can like transmute you back into a baby. And then that makes you easier to kill. It did it the best, like It Part 2, this newest one, because it was just that I was very fond of that movie anyway, but there's a few like these cliches work on some level. And that's usually the way that it is, but like they become cliche when they're overdone. And because when they're overdone, they get weaker. And it's just okay to have something that is like, how do you breathe different life into something? And how do you breathe different life into something in 15 minutes? Like, I'm like, what do I tell a story about a werewolf? Like, it's a full moon. I'm like, yo, that's always the case. So it's like this is an interesting project. Like to be thinking of two different things. So
and then my friend, we have to talk about it because it is a cliche as itself. Why does the black man or woman always have to die? Like
that's what
especially
I was saying,
in the 80s movies. That's what
I'm saying,
but then you have actually I have to send you a link because there's a good I think like documentary where you have all these actors who were like famous for like all these different horror movies, and then they literally talk about like black actors in history of horror movies. And it was just really good to see how like it started to evolve from like they weren't even allowed in movies and it was just white people dressed up as black people, and then you started having them just as the the victims, and then you started getting movies like Candyman, where you got an actual threat and people are afraid of. So it's just really good to see, a lot of things come out of cliches and see just see things grow.
Yeah, it was
I was
it was a
afraid to say
matter.
Candyman in the mirror. I don't know about anyone else.
when I was younger, my sister worked at the movie theater that I ended up working at because we cleaned it. So the guy that owned it would just, me and my sister were younger, so he just ended up hiring us as we got old enough to work. Anyway, we would always come like towards the end of the last movie so we could start cleaning. And this guy was one of the other managers there, and they were talking about Candyman. It had just come out. And so he dared somebody to go in the bathroom and say Candyman 5 times. And he runs and he puts a trash can in front of the door and he turns the light off at the fuse. And that guy I remember being like 12 or 13 years old and the commotion that guy was making to get out of that bathroom. Like, I thought he was going to fight somebody that got out of the bathroom, but he was that scared after seeing Candyman and then getting scared in the bathroom. So it was just, I remember it being a moment, but I still haven't seen any of the Candyman movies.
Oh, it's great. It's a great franchise. I think so.
Yeah. There's so many different takes on horror movies. Like, wasn't Snoop Dogg in a horror movie?
Bones.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah. And it was actually I liked it personally. It was different.
I have to check it out. I think that I might have seen it like back when that when MTV was like hyping everything. I think that like it became like important, but I don't remember it, and I definitely didn't watch it with the brain that I have now. So that would be curious.
Yeah, and another topic, another cliche. I mean, it's good to see the killer go after the person, but like for instance, Jason and Michael Myers, they're slow, but yet they're always able to appear out from nowhere. Like they're like when you're not looking at them, they're pretty much just like a typical old people at in a park just speed walking,
Right.
It's like you don't show how Jason's moving really fast, and that's a good thing because I don't know if I would not stop from laughing if I actually saw Jason trying to run uphill with his machete and
he's got his mask pushed up on his forehead. He's got his sleeves on his coveralls rolled up. He's got some New Balance sneakers on when nobody's looking.
Right.
Yeah, but no,
it's great though.
Yeah, it's horror is just it's a cool field because there's room for everybody, and there's room for so many different types. Even getting into, it's not for me, but even getting into like the real comedy horror, like the what was the name of that show that was really, really popular on Hulu for a while there? It was kind of like the Addams Family, but it was modern, but they were all like vampires. Oh, We Live in the Shadows. I think that was the name of it. Yeah. Yeah. Very, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I could see how people would enjoy it. It just, but that exists. Like that exists in its own lane for horror, down with Rocky Horror Picture Show. All those things exist, and they're as horror as anything else, but they are a whole different lane. Robert Geronimo's story, Blood Realm, it did not fit in my original like opinion of horror, but it exists in its own lane, and it's really good. Like it's really, really good. So there's so much to do. There's so much to do. There's so much to say. There's so many different ways to say it. Mr. Gary here, his is like sci-fi, but there's like hard strong horror elements throughout, especially in the first book. Like that first story had a lot of good horror elements in it.
Well, and I don't mean to be that guy, but the one that's coming's got some horror elements too. I'm not trying to pitch. I'm not trying to, but I mean, it's
why wouldn't you?
A lot of some really. Right. I'm gonna just suggest some of the most gruesome, scary, tense stuff I've done in any of them so far. So
see, you're a badass when you suggest your own writing. You suggest what's in your own writing to yourself as the writer. Well played, Gary. I love it. But no.
And just to check in before I mute again.
Yeah.
I have, look, it's a first idea, which means it's by definition trash. But I think I might actually have something to do with Cerberus here. So I'm just okay. Right. Let me know when someone needs time to work on theirs, so I can give you a chance on the bench. But.
I'm definitely next. Yeah, for sure. I have written werewolf. That's what I got for right now. It's a working title, but we'll see what happens. We're gonna flesh it out a little bit. All right, what else you got, Ronnie? No. Before you start, one thing we can't not talk about Uzumaki in our birthday episode, because
for sure.
Not only was that my it ended up being my favorite book. But I'll say my favorite book, but sometimes Identity Crisis and Watchmen are kind of like, that's my tippy top, but it's in that 3 for sure. But Uzumaki changed the way I wrote. I wouldn't say my artwork, because that's, I don't know, I think that's a story that's different for every story, but it definitely changed the way I saw storytelling. And I also think that was because that's when I really started to get excited about what we were doing. I feel like that's when you and I kind of started to come into our own doing this, because I think that there's a lot of different reviews out, but I think that ours stands up. Thank you, Frank. I'm glad you could make it, Frank. Man.
Appreciate that.
Have some cake and ice cream.
Right? With blood in it. No.
Look at Ronnie. Oh my God. I love it.
Like the golden child,
Yes. Yes, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think that Uzumaki was just that, when we were okay. And I was like, all right, Ronnie, what else you got? It was kind of like when Neo first started taking those first training applications in the Matrix, and he was like, okay, I lay it on me. And it's that's when it started. That's when we started to get to interview Scott Serkling, and when we got to do Robert Geronimo's book. I would still love to talk to him about that book, because that was a full cold introduction to dark horror fantasy for me. I had nothing to base it against, but I enjoyed it more the second read, but I just love reading what people do. I don't have a set goal in mind. I like to see whatever you suggest and just kind of jump into it. And that's been a blast, so happy birthday, Ronnie. It's been thanks for taking me on this horror ride.
Thank you for wanting to do it.
Hey man, it's been worth it. I really enjoyed it.
For sure.
We got more to come. Yeah, it's not over. We'll have a second birthday, I'm sure. So
exactly.
But no, I'm always excited for what's next.
And not just Gary's book, but if people haven't been watching, Scott Serkling is working on his next issue as well. So
yeah, Young and the Dead is it's a blast. And when I write, especially when I write horror, I listen to a lot of 80s, Anita Baker, Shaka Khan. Like I listened to like the most, it's like you would think that I was on a yacht in 1994 with the music that I listen to while I'm writing. But
see, that's funny.
I love the 80s period.
Mm-hmm.
And I love like that like super poppy Madonna stuff. I love it. Scott Serklin's book is a cassette tape. Like it's you can see the research in it, and Gary's here, he's muted us, and that's fine. And I don't mean to keep glossing him, but this really is one of my favorite books.
I'm muted, so when I'm swearing under my breath trying to write this, like the audience doesn't have to hear it.
But no, it was, with Gary and with Scott Serklin's books in particular, those were the two books that we really like appreciated the research. We appreciated that these items existed in the period where they're displayed,
Yeah, exactly.
And so no, it's like it introduced me to yet another level to having a good product, and then like taking it up to the next step. And it's labor intensive, but there's a definite payoff for it, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. You have any other? Oh, actually, I do have a cliche to talk about. In horror movies, why do cops always have to show up at the end of the scene? Like they're never around when you actually need them.
Yeah, response times are crap in horror movies for sure.
Yeah,
and they're useless when they show up
in horror movies. Mm-hmm. In horror movies, yeah.
In horror movies.
In horror movies.
Just in horror movies.
And not just that, but like it's like when they're investigating, they're always doing it at night, not during the day, at night, and they're by themselves. Like,
it's a single cop. That's another one. Oh my gosh, I have to jump in to say this. How many times have I seen the single cop with a flashlight looking at something while something is coming up behind him? Yeah, just they're the most incompetent, just helpless. They're more cannon fodder than like the cheerleader girl who got greased in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, especially when they go to, hey man, you want to spend the night downtown? No, he is a monster. He would destroy the jail that you took him to. He would never make it.
Yeah, Jason, in your werewolf thing, don't do a thing where they point a gun at the werewolf and say, "Put your hands up, guy."
Okay, I'm back to just werewolf. I'm back to just werewolf now.
I'm sorry. Got carried away.
Oh man, yeah. We could like horror cliches is just, it was unexpected, but it's a fun topic because they're everywhere, so many of them, and it's like some are tongue in cheek. Some people really feel like, like me sometimes. Some people really feel like they got a fresh take on something, and like, you shot it, man, but you didn't make it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you shot at it, and that's cool that you shot at it, but you're not. Nobody's wiping tears from their eyes at your horror cliche sometimes.
Right. And then another good point is like when something supernatural always happens, especially in the 80s, it always had to do with some type of like Indian burial ground. Like that's just the answer. They couldn't have come up with anything else. Like, oh, there was a meteorite that gave radiation and such. It's always a Indian burial ground.
That one I have to unmute for too. It drives me crazy, and I find. I hope this doesn't sound too woke, or I don't know. I don't know how it sounds, but to me, I throw that in with like the wise old Asian, or like, forgive the expression, but the term you see like Green Mile and stuff, like the magic Negro, or like whatever the thing is, where it's like, yes, the Indian, the Native Americans, they know secrets, there's magic, there's a burial ground, like all this stuff where like non-whites they have this, they're somehow special magic in tune with the folklore, and they understand the monster or the ghost in a way that a modern person couldn't possibly. It's very, to me, kind of hokey and feels kind of like low-grade racism, like kind of like the they're only barely removed from that kind of world, so they understand it better. Like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No.
I'm tired, boss. Like, no, like it's Tituba. You know, it's Tituba. Like that's where it started, and it's followed that same beat. You know, Uncle Remus ruined Disney. Like, come on, like, yeah. But no, there's always the cliche of the Native American burial ground. But you know what? It would sure suck if that was the case. You know, like that would, because there's a lot of high-rise buildings and places that would have quite the horror movie. Who knows what the Cecil Hotel is built on top of, you know? Man.
All right. I think this is publishable. I think this is perfect.
Okay. Read it to us.
It is.
No. We're saving it for the end. I want you guys to work. I'm ready to step in though and talk.
Jason, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna mute for a minute. See what I can scare up. Y'all get it? Because this is what we do.
So, do you have anything that you come to mind with cliches, Gary?
You know, I'm going to set this aside for.
You're muted, Gary.
Okay, there we go. I'm setting this aside. I have my idea. I'm not going to look at it again until like we're talking a bit anyway. It's funny. If I've seen anything once or twice before, like I kind of feel like it's a cliche, like, and it checks me out. And I'll be more tolerant of it in other people's work, you know, because sometimes it's fine. Like Terminator was a good example where it was like some of this stuff, like I've seen these kind of tropes before, but I wouldn't be comfortable writing. You know, like for myself, just like and I don't want it to sound like, oh, I hold myself at a different state. It's not that. It's just, I'm trying, especially with D versus M, I'm trying to do things that people haven't seen before, you know? And like, so for me, anytime I'm doing something where it's like, this feels familiar, like I want to go in and do monkey with that. So it's less so. So like I said, if I've seen anything once or twice before, to me, it feels a little played out. Let's see, we mentioned like the seemingly dead thing. We mentioned incompetent police officers not being able to run away. I think the thing, and this is something, and I hope Squatch doesn't see this because I know he's a massive Walking Dead fan, but here's one that like and maybe I'm just a little too rational or a little too whatever, and like I'm not maintaining the right mindset, but something that will check me out of a horror movie is when I feel like if people would just stop for a second and think, you know, like, what do we do in this situation? And it would be very survivable, very manageable. Like, it checks me out when that doesn't happen. And that's kind of why I lost interest in the Walking Dead series. Because it was a thing where at first I could see like, oh, this is a handful, this is out of control, this is a bear. But very quickly I was like, you know what, these things are not very smart. Like, you could build a really good barricade, you could make yourself a farm, and you could live out your life pretty safely and not be doing this constant like migrating and having to like take your chances out there, and people
just go sit down.
And like infighting, it's like This
the
is
other
very
humans were more of
survival.
a threat.
Like these are the least dangerous kinds of monsters you could think of, to be like confronted with. The fact that they're still killing you guys off, to me, just suggests you're morons. And and I just sort of checked out of it, where it's like, I don't care if you all get eaten. Like I can't believe the things you're doing. I can't believe like the choices you're making. So that would definitely be one where it's like, you guys are not being smart about this. Like you're not actually approaching this like a real problem.
That reminds me of I don't know if you guys ever see it, the Geico commercial, where literally all these group of like friends are heading into a shed, and the shed literally has sickles, machetes, all these different like weapons around it. And they didn't realize that the killer with the chainsaw was right behind them. And he's like looking at them like, you guys stupid. And then once they hear the chainsaw, they start running outside, and instead of running to the car that's right next to them, they're like, hurry, run to the cemetery. I'm like,
right, yeah.
And that just goes into another one, splitting up. If you split up, you're just gonna die a lot quicker.
Yeah. Let's let them pick us off one by one.
If you have a big guy with the knife, yeah, it's going to be hard, but if three of you kick that guy's ass and take the weapon, I guarantee it. The
other thing, and on the other end of that, Walking Dead is another perfect example of this. So, like, I grew up in Arizona. My dad is a veteran and a police officer, was a retired police officer. Like I said, Arizona, I grew up learning how to shoot. Like, I know how to shoot. To see these like civilians regularly pulling off headshots with pistols, like in like zombie things and all that stuff.
That's funny.
Like, give me a break. Like, there is no way they'd be lucky if they were even hitting these things. And they're like 10 out of 10 accuracy, like boom, boom, headshot, headshot, headshot with one hand, walking while on the move. It's like, give me a break. That will check me out too. It's just like, no, that's these people, for sure they'd be eaten, like 100%.
And that's funny because I wanted to like find a list of like cliches so I don't forget them. And there's this website that literally says 44 horror cliches that you couldn't remember.
Is that on there?
And one of them was actually people having like pinpoint shot. Yeah. Like everyone in the movie knows how to shoot.
Everyone knows how to shoot. Like where I suspect, I don't know what the numbers are. I would suspect like the average person hasn't even picked up a real gun in their life. Maybe like a
most
BB
definitely
gun, maybe a cap gun, maybe a water gun, maybe a gun in a video game, but like, to really know like how difficult it is just to even hit sort of in an area, but then to actually hit a zombie's brainstem where this is a high pressure situation. The thing is trying to get you. Everyone's screaming. You haven't had a shower in 3 months. Like you have a toothache that you can't get dealt with because you haven't been to the dentist. Like, this is stuff that like, it's like, no, I don't buy this. I don't believe
it. And with the handguns, that's one thing. But when you see like people pick up like these heavy duty weapons, and it's like they automatically know how to handle the backfire, instead of like breaking their shoulder,
or drop it out of shock, or like it kicks crazy.
Right?
Like how many amateur shooters, like you hear about this all the time, they fire and it goes up and it pops them in the forehead because they weren't prepared for the, like there's so many ways this would go wrong. How many people accidentally shoot each other every year? Like, so you have all these people in the post-apocalyptic society, you have all these people who are like learning how to use guns, and like there's no accidents, where's all this ammo coming from? Who's cleaning these guns? Like, that's the kind of stuff. And again, it's just because I'm sort of a gun guy where it just checks me out of it in such a big way, where it's like, I find the zombie thing more plausible than the fact that we have all these marksmen in your camp of survivors.
For sure. And that's actually number 38 in this thing is actually no guns cliche. So yeah, that just goes into it, But what's another one? Oh, this is a good one. Screaming for help in a secluded area. Like if you know you're out in the fucking boonies and there's not like another house or place like probably 20 miles away, why even scream? Because you just gave your location off to the killer.
But why scream? You're never gonna get away with this again.
Right?
Yes, they are. How would they not?
They are.
Lost. Yeah,
it's fine.
Who's gonna tell? He's not gonna tell himself. Like, it's over.
Yeah, they're not worried.
Yeah.
So I have my story, but if I write it, it's going to take us 16 years to finish this video.
Yeah, this is kind of like what I wrote.
I'm happy with my story.
If it helps you guys, what I wrote is sort of like maybe the inside flap of the book jacket copy. Like kind of like this is the story.
Yeah.
You know, like this is, and then it kind of stops where it's like, you know, like now, like, you know, this is, you'll have to read to kind of find out what happens. But because that's, I mean, with the time, like how long have we've already been going.
We're almost at an hour. Yeah. Ronnie hadn't even got his story yet.
So I was all myself, and you guys just talk about stuff.
Okay.
Okay. You know what? I guess. So why don't we do this? Why don't you tell us your story?
You want me to start?
Yeah, you start your story. I'll tell my story, and then we'll get to Ronnie. We'll talk till Ronnie gets his done.
This is chicken scratches, so I might stumble a little bit as I'm trying to kind of read what I wrote. But so for people who weren't familiar or who are tuning in late, I was randomly given as my monster to write a story about Cerberus. I don't know if this. I don't know. I didn't study Greek. I don't know how you pronounce this. But actually, that's Latin. I think. It's
Cerebus.
Is it? No, it's Cerber. It's weird. I don't know. I thought it was. I think I had always said Cerebrus, but that's clearly wrong.
Cerebrus. That's what it is.
See that?
Let's see if I can make my phone say it. I'm gonna try to make my phone say it.
Yeah, make your phone say it. How to pronounce. But while you're looking for that, so for people watching, in Greek mythology, it's a three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell, basically. Do we have a? Let me see if I can have a final tops. The spelling I have is Cerberus. Cerberus. I don't know. Anyway, this is what I came up with. I'm not claiming this is good at all, but this is at least what I had. Okay. So the way I wrote this, Cerberus is a code name for a bioweapon project. The military was interested in breeding canines that were more intelligent and more deadly. It somehow involved genetically modified dogs bred for size, strength, intelligence, and aggression. But some part of the process causes problems in pregnancies, which like a lot of stillbirths, a lot of the mothers dying, and a lot of like just badly deformed pups that never get past like the first few days or weeks. But a single specimen survived and actually grew, but it was also a deformed mutant. It was a litter of 3 that had ended up as sort of conjoined triplets. So it had 3 heads and kind of a distorted body. Because it was living for now, they thought, well, we're going to keep it to kind of do tests on to figure out what the hell is going wrong with these. And eventually it's going to just die on its own, or we'll euthanize it or something. But to their surprise, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And it got about the size of maybe a bull mastiff or a small bear. It got really large and seemed to be healthy and functional, even though it had like this weird deformity it was basically 3 dogs in one. At one point, a vet is working with it through a gate, and it takes his hand off, and they realize we need a more secure and a safer kennel for this thing because it's getting a little too big and dangerous.
Sure.
But that's going to mean transferring it to a nearby facility. This is like a bioweapon research military facility out in the woods. So we're going to have to move it to the neighboring building. And because it's so secret, they can't really do every safety precaution they should. They're like trying to transfer it over there in kind of a slapdash way. And it gets loose, kills one person, mauls another, and flees into the woods. So now people need to go out there and need to get this thing. It's wandering out in the woods. It's like doing whatever it's going to do. Awesome. It can't be getting too far. They have orders from the powers that be, like, you need to capture it alive. No killing it. We want the specimen. But there is a military special ops man on the team who's planning to thoroughly disregard that request if he gets the opportunity. And they're about to learn, this is my last line, it's far smarter and more lethal than any of them realized. That's my setup. So it would basically be like a horror story in the woods thing with this bear-sized, like,
I was gonna say, you got alien in a forest.
Yeah, a little bit.
Very good. I dig it.
That would be like, that's what I was going to start with. And if I was really having to do this, then I would go through, it's like, all right, now what do I do with, like, how do I make this? But I didn't want to go like the full mythology, like I didn't want to be like, there's a cave somewhere where there's actual 3-headed dogs. Like, no. I was like, how can I make this sort of, so it's just like a code name for this one specimen because it happened to have 3 heads. But that's awesome. That's what I got.
All right. So here's what I got. Werewolf. I was afraid of making this like super boring. And then I was like, I am going to do something with the policeman, but it's not going to be what we talked about.
Okay.
So here's what I got. I got a story that starts off big standoff outside of a bank. It's like, it's getting dusk and it's wintertime. So think Heat, the movie, but cold. You got news, you got the police, right? So you got these guys inside the bank that are talking about coming out of the bank. They're talking about what they're going to do with this money. It's an impossible situation, but they are completely calm about it. They're talking about taking over the mob family that they're in after they get home because they're going to have so much money. So they go out during this news report, and one of them just like throws something in the air with their hands up. It's this artificial moon. And this artificial moon like floats right above, and then this van that's on the other side of the news team starts to rock. Outburst a werewolf. Like he's like the 4th member. He's like one of these guys that they've experimented on to turn him into a werewolf. He bursts through, all this is on the news. So they're completely mellow yellow about it because this is like their big coming out party. And so you introduce like this super villainous crime family that has a actual werewolf in a otherwise normal world as their tank. And so then it's like your story is through these guys. It's not as much horror as I would normally do, but I don't know. I dug it, and I felt like it was fresh enough to not feel like, to not feel like killing.
And that's the thing with like even though I would have envied werewolf because it would have been easy. Like I feel like, like Cerberus, I don't know. Like that's the opposite problem with werewolf is like, okay, we've seen 8 million werewolf stories. So like, how do you do something different? And that's, there you go. We both have like an experimenting, like science amok thing.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah. We're definitely like, if there was like an ancestry family tree for like indie creators, like you and I are definitely like
we're sort of in the same kind of like our
exactly
our tastes, when it comes to like how would you probably approach it.
Yeah, exactly. So no, and I don't know, it's always fun to talk to 3 writers. Like Ronnie was one of the first writers that I met in the Discord, and then it was like when I was reading Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, I'm like, this artwork is good, but this guy's a writer, for what I like I knew like you were like communicating with people like us. So that's just the fun part of this and branching out and meeting people. And, I never knew how to pick a writer's brain. I just wrote, so it just makes you better. Iron sharpens iron.
That's the only approach, I don't, and I know people, I've taken them. Like I know people who are like, you got to take creative writing classes and you got to read books. And it's like, I don't know. Do you? I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not saying there's no value in it, but
right.
I think that might be helpful if like, I don't know, you're having trouble getting a routine going. You're getting in trouble, like figuring out an approach. Like, you want to do it, but you're not sure how. Like, then it might help you to see some examples or read some ideas or, something like that. But like, if you feel like you've got some, it's like, well, I'll just sit down and write it. And I don't know if this is the one thing I've learned about being a creative. I haven't learned very much, but there's one thing I have learned is like everybody's process is different. So like to get dogmatic about this is the way to go approach it, or this is what you need to study, or this is what you need to know, or this is how you should organize your day, or this is how you should approach no.
I think that's when it stops being fun. Like,
well,
that's when it stops being fun.
I think there's people who probably lose interest. They think they're not cut out for it because they're not successfully doing it the way someone else does it, which it doesn't matter how someone else did it. And like, it's something I bang away on in my videos. And then like every time it comes up, like, you don't get hung up on process, get hung up on product. Like, what are you getting stuff done? Are you happy with it? Like, are you accomplishing what you set out to do? Then however you're doing it, it's fine. Like if you have to, burn some sage and pray to some weird, strange idol before every time you work, whatever, man. Like, I mean, that's fine, and if you want to go right down the list of like, this is the, according to Hoyle way to write a script, it's like, all right, that's fine. And if you want to write it all out on cocktail napkins, all right. I mean, if you're getting it done.
Aaron always talks about like, feeling loose in certain aspects. Like Aaron likes inking. Like once he gets to the inking phase, he feels his most comfortable. That's where he's like just throwing the style over the story that he's built. And that's where you see it come alive, is when somebody is just themselves. They're not relying on this thing. And that's why I enjoy writing. Because I just go. I'm learning. Like, but when am I not going to be learning?
Right. No, yeah.
Yeah, when am I not going to be learning about this? And I'm 40. Like,
that's the biggest mistake that I see kind of younger or inexperienced creatives make, is like they're waiting to start something until like they know enough or they learn enough, or it's like you never, like it's kind of like what people say about, if you wait till you're ready to have kids, you will never have kids, like, I mean, that's, it's kind of like that. Like if you wait till you're ready to write your script or draw your comic or write your book or, start screwing around on the guitar, like it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I hate to break it to you.
If you had a pill that like could allow you to feel, especially like with kids, like you said, if somebody said, okay, this is what it's going to feel like when your kids have a dance recital and there's already cost you $500, and the week of you have to come up with $250 more per kid. Like, here's what that feels like. I would be like, okay, I'm out. I don't want kids.
Yeah,
like,
I
don't want it. But all those little things don't really measure up to what you get when you're in it. And so, no.
You're not thinking of the payoff. You're not,
Exactly. So if you just get into your story and enjoy it, you will 100%, your product will be better than if you said, I'm going to write this or I'm going to draw this, but I don't like the subject. I don't like the items. I don't even like, I don't care about it.
I mean,
like,
that's
how can it be your best?
When I started this D versus M thing, that was, and I still once in a while will do some freelancing, and I still once in a while will do some graphic design, whatever. Like if the right thing shows up and it's the right timing and I'm not too tight. But basically D versus M trumps everything when it comes to my free time. Like that is my priority. And it's like if once in a while it's a friend or it's something I'm excited about, or ideally both, like something where it's like, oh, I'll do something. But like otherwise, like I do a lot of just telling people like, I just don't have time. I just don't have time. I can refer you to other people who can help you out, but like, I don't have time. And it's mostly because, I spent most of my adult life as a creative doing stuff for other people. And some people can, it's fine. It fried me, man. Like I burned out on it. I want, and I kind of like, it was a mixed enough experience where I came away feeling like, if I'm going to work this hard, I want it to be for my thing. Like, I don't want it to be for like somebody else's dream. I want to do my dream, you know, like why am I killing myself over, you know, a logo for something that's I don't care about, or like a, you know, like a t-shirt, or, you know, something that's like, I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, and then have to deal with the weirdo, you know, revisions and like, you know, and just like, it's like, no, this is, you know, or like projects that fall through like that.
I'm not going to enjoy any part of this. So why would I? Yeah,
why?
No, I get it.
Why is it this? Is this? And that becomes the thing now, is like, is this important to me? Like, and if it's, you know, if it's not, I just don't have time. I'm sorry, you know, like there literally isn't time. So I'm not going to make time for this thing that I'm just not passionate about. Like, it's not even fair to whoever's asking me. Like, if I'm not into this, it's like you said, like doing something where.
Yeah. It's mutually. It's mutually, nobody wins. Like we're all just slapping something together. So no, 100% get that. How you doing, Ronnie?
Oh, he's got a smile.
Yeah, he's in.
He's got.
All right. So it's called a basilisk.
Yeah, that's
called a basilisk.
All right.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too that we all got monsters that appeared in Harry Potter movies. I thought that was funny.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
All right. So
werewolves in Harry Potter were pretty cool. Like I liked that. That was Prisoner of Azkaban, right? That was that one where that was I think that was my favorite one of all of them. Anyway.
All right. September 20th. All right. September 20th, 1985. I woke up from freezing cold, scratching at my back, realizing naked while I lying on my back on a rocky floor, pitch black and not able to see even 3 feet in front of me. I hear noise above me. Gentlemen wearing black tuxedos and ladies in red dresses. They laugh as I shout louder and louder. A path is soon revealed there. I found a lit torch and a cloth trousers on a table. I cover myself, then grab the torch. I walk for about 10 minutes, then come across a pit of dark, foggy water. I begin to walk through it, the water coming up to my waist, until I hear a noise, screeching and pouncing out of the water was a basilisk. The snake's eyes pierces my soul with its blood red eyes. Paralyzed in shock, I realized that the fate that was in store for me.
See, but that's why this is Ronnie's channel. Yeah, that's why this is Ronnie's channel.
How long were we talking?
I don't know.
We didn't start talking. You didn't come off mute until 54 minutes. So it hasn't been.
No, he just
that
said,
long.
Let's get that out. It's very atmospheric. It was very.
That's awesome, Ronnie. That was dope.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we made I think, you know what? I am not going to lie. I was very anxious about this. I wasn't sure like how this was going to go. I think we all deserve a pat on the back. I think we all.
I think that was pretty stellar. Yeah.
When you think like I've never had to like come up with the story. Like when you guys first pitched this, I thought it'd maybe be like sketching like a monster real quick, you know, where it'd be like, yeah, I can do that. Like, you know, but like writing something, I was like, I don't know.
But, you know, like, that's something that I've enjoyed about the minis is it is a bunch of stories. Like, the minis are all written.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Like, you know, there's still work to be done on them. And you know, stories are never really completely finished until your artist gets them. And, you know, then you get the meeting of the minds while it's actually happening. But building a universe out of these little tiny books was good practice for this because it was a word. Like, what do you do with a word? And what do you do with a word that everybody said 1,000 times? Like, Michael Jackson was a werewolf, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
What can I do? You know, like we got the Michael Jackson in the 80s. Like, it's 2021 now. So
for sure.
Just always fun to push the muscles a little bit. You know, I was still hesitant today because 10, 15 minutes is not. It's not long. Like, especially when I forgot that was what we were doing today.
Well, and now I'm glad I'm doing revisions on my story, because if not, I think I'd be inclined to circle back to this and like, oh, but what you could also like, I could continue to like, well, what if you know, like, and no, I'm washing my hands of it. That's it.
But that's a pretty solid seed to come up with so quickly. Like,
it's
something that is worth thought. Yeah.
I think all of our stories were good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I think a lot of us, like, you could like, all of those are pitchable, you know. There's
hey, with enough coffee, you can pitch anything, you know.
You find the right coked out exec, you know, like they could look like, that sounds amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. Yeah.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt, you know, like, I mean, just then you hit all the, it's really easy. It's no big deal.
Yep. That's it. I love it. Here we go. What else you got, Ronnie?
I want to watch one of my favorite werewolf movies tonight, I think.
Which one is that?
Well, it's a toss-up between American Werewolf in London and The Howling, I think.
I gotta watch. I started American Werewolf in London, but I haven't finished it. And The Howling has never even, it's not been on my radar.
Yeah,
now that movie has like one of the better transformations, right?
Yeah, they both are very, like, I would say, pinnacle of like traditional effect transformations. Yep. Two of them.
I've seen them like in YouTube videos where they talk about stuff like that. But
I would say, I mean, your mileage may vary. American Werewolf in London is, to me, almost perfect. It's kind of funny. It's kind of scary. It's very gross. Like, there's a lot of like really crazy over the top gore. My only thing about it is it's not my platonic idea of a werewolf, like the design. It's very much like the kind of, and it fits for the movie. It's very much the kind of old European, like bear kind of looking werewolf, like all four and like huge and like that kind of thing. It looks great. I like the bipedal, like more traditional, like kind of thing. So the Howling werewolves, I don't know if the movie or the script is as well done, but I love how they look. Like, I think they look cool. So I don't know, but they're both really good movies though.
Yeah. Some of my favorite looking werewolves have been in the American Vampire Story, because I see Skinner Sweet and Pearl. The American Vampire is a werewolf, like in this world that they built.
It is very werewolfy.
An excellent recommendation. Like, I've enjoyed it much more than I thought I would.
Watching your guys' last video about it, I'm also wondering, like, at some point, are they gonna draw some sort of, like, there was like a cross reading somewhere, or like, because they do have like a very werewolfy set of rules and vibe. And I saw in the chat, Frank, Silver Bullet is awesome. Silver Bullet's a great movie. My only gripe about Silver Bullet is I thought the werewolf design was sort of ass. But like, I mean, to me, it looks very much like guy in a bear costume. But like, but everything else about it, I really love. Like, that's a good movie.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Yeah, Hourglass grew on me, man. Like, it was Aaron, when Aaron showed me that first mini bundle, he just says, I don't really know where I was going with this story, but it's 6 months and just see what you can do with it. And we ended up like crafting this thing that has real life to it, and there's transformations in it. So it kind of does count as what we're talking about, but it's been a blast. But yeah, back to werewolves. I've really enjoyed this. I haven't looked at the chats, so I just kind of.
Frank is always in there with the rim shot, like with his comments. Every time I see him in the chat for YouTube, it's always like, what if an elephant bitten by a werewolf turns into a woolly mammoth? Hey, there you go. Now he's got a story idea. He pulled woolly mammoth, and he's like, okay, it's a
it's a werewolf.
It's a werefant.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, which one is it? Is it a wolf that turns into an elephant, or an elephant?
I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
Wolf. Oh.
Hey,
a wolf fan. I like it.
By chance, do you have? Let's see, because my computer's running slow. Do you that picture I sent you? Of
Let me see. Oh,
working.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I got it. Let me get on my text here. Oh. There you are, Ronnie.
Oh, wow. What are we looking at?
Yeah. This is one of Ronnie's monsters from his upcoming webcomic.
It's kind of
yeah.
It's kind of Brundlefly-ish. It's kind of traditional, like Beelzebub-y, like kind of like there's a lot of cool things going on. That's
It's just I don't know. Flies are always like kind of gross, so it's always cool to see what people can do with them as monsters. I like where
for sure, and then so associated with like corpses, like I mean, it's kind of like it should be up there with like vultures and like everything else. Like it's a carrion feeder. So
maggots are kind of like wolves, like because flies have hair. It's kind of what they become.
They sprout. Maybe a maggot is
they can't turn back though.
We're diluting our three good ideas.
Do you guys have any? All right.
Sorry, you get me rambling on them too long. I can run anything into the ground. I'm like an airline pilot. Oh man.
So do you guys have any more cliches you want to talk about before we end it?
I mean, I'll the one thought I did have, it was
like your most hated like the most like
I got a good one. I'll let you go first.
Well, the one I was thinking of is it reminded me of a conversation I had with Dan Ekus when I was writing 97. And when I was writing D versus M 1997, I showed him a draft to get his notes. And I was talking about earlier versions that he hadn't read. Like, I had done revisions before I showed it to him. And I was basically saying like, there's some, like, no one's ever going to see some of these early drafts. Like it's trash. Not in terms of the writing, but in terms of the ideas are very cliche and obvious. And I think, so that's what I wanted to throw out there is like, no, at least I'll speak for myself. I don't think anybody's above writing a hacky or cliche idea, like, and the analogy I used with Dan when he and I were talking about it, like if you see those pictures of old Roman roads in Europe where like wagons had been rolling down them for like hundreds or thousands of years, and they've got like grooves in the rocks where like
everybody's been on these same spaces.
I was telling Dan, it's like, I think your brain is sort of like that. So if I put you on the spot right now and said like, come up with a vampire story right now, start saying it as you think it, I think inevitably there's something that's going to pop out that's like, it's like those grooves in the Roman roads. Like it's something that we've all heard or seen about a vampire thing. And like, I think the point of revisions and editing is to try and scrub that shit out.
I was going to say, it's polishing.
So when you have like the Indian burial ground, or you have like something like that, you realize like, you know what? This is like played. Like I'm going to do something different with this. So like, I just wanted to say like, because I know, everyone who's written a hacky thing or a cliche thing doesn't mean they're bad. I think it just maybe could have used more time in the oven. And that would be my last thought on like, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, these people can't write. Like they can. I think maybe it just,
if somebody has a successful project, even if it's just from dollars and cents, I think that you won. Like hacky, hokey pokey. If the mission was $1 and you made $1, you did.
Yes.
My kind of piggybacking on that, like my last cliche is these horror movies like Nightmare on Elm Street that started out purely as a horror that get funnier as time goes on. Like Venom, Venom got really funny there for a little bit. But this guy's like teeth and drool, just stay true. Just stay true to that. You can make that story in an alternate universe, but give me my scary monsters and don't give them a funny bone.
Venom's a bummer. It's interesting. Yeah, I kind of wish I don't know if we'll ever see a really cool Venom movie, but maybe
one day. I wasn't a fan of this last one. It didn't hold my attention. No, I didn't think that Venom looked.
I mean, I know people dig it, and that's fine. It's not what I want from a Venom movie. No. I became aware of Venom back in the McFarlane days. And and he was scary and demonic and weird, and it was just such a strange, and so different from anything else in that universe. So it's that's what I want. That's what I think of as Then I see these latest iterations where, oh, he's sort of an anti-hero now, or oh, he's a special ops guy. It's I don't. Okay.
Yeah, no, you don't need it.
Exactly.
Cool,
I'll pass.
I don't need it. Who asked for extra lettuce on a cheeseburger? You might eat lettuce on your burger, but you're gonna say, you know what? Put some more lettuce on this burger. Take it up a notch.
Double lettuce, please. No, I don't. Yeah.
Yes. So
I have
that's
2
mine.
cliches.
All right, what you got, Randy?
Well, actually, 3.
Uh-oh.
Number 1, the origin of the killer takes place, or where the main part of the story takes place, always happens in the typical locations. It's always some type of curse house, or it's some type of deadly forest that you're not supposed to go. Come up with something new, because you could take any location and make it into something terrifying, because there's a lot of urban legends out there and a lot of myths. And there's so many other stories. You could go online and find out this abandoned tunnel that they used to use for trains is haunted. Use stuff like that a lot more instead of the typical stuff.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because I'm not into. To me, it's a weird little litmus test I do in my head. I'm not a huge fan of kind of state specific monsters, where it only works in a certain kind of it only works in the creepy old abandoned house. It only works in the woods.
Yeah.
It only works there's some exceptions to that, but if there's what happens to the Blair Witch if loggers come and cut down that forest? It doesn't work. So it's not the kind of monster that feels like Dracula can go anywhere. A werewolf can be anywhere. There's a mummy can be flown somewhere and wake up in a museum. That sort of works. But if some monster, it's no, there's a hidden cave where there's a weird goblin that sits and wants to trade you something for something. It's sort of all right, well, what happens when developers come and fill in that cave? I don't know. It just doesn't work anymore. But anyway, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah. And then
I could get the Blair Witch out of the forest.
Right. Number 2, everyone is an idiot.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone's an idiot. They're always making bad choices. That just goes along with splitting up and not sticking together, because, I don't know. It's just stupid that you would think that at this point in time, especially when some of these people, their character development is they're really smart and they have a PhD, and then all of a sudden when something scary happens, they just become stupid.
Right. No, that's
and then 3.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that was my complaint about The Walking Dead, where no one's smart.
Yeah.
No.
And then number 3, especially when there's teenage kids are involved in everything, and you see that these teenage kids are being killed and something's not happening. It just seems like all the adults are mindless and stupid to what's going on.
Yeah. And they're no help at all. You go to them and you say, I think there's a, yeah. Just to shout out The Thing every chance I get. The Thing does a good job of everyone makes logical, competent decisions. I'm
so sorry it took me so long to watch that movie. Guys.
No, it's fine. But it's a good case study where everyone should see The Thing. Good. But no one's. I can't think of a point in that movie where it's like, what is that person doing? They all are doing their best, and it was all logical. It was all logical. They're coming up with what if we came up with a blood serum test? What if we, they're trying to get a handle on this, and they're just failing, which is different from being a moron. That's right. Yeah. Another one that's good at it. If you guys haven't seen, it's a great little sci-fi horror movie, Life, with Jake Gyllenhaal. Yes. And have you seen that one? And the guy who plays Deadpool, Ryan. I always mix up Ryan Reynolds. I always mix up Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling. That's Ryan Reynolds. Anyway, and that, speaking of Venom, that was rumored for a long time to be like a Venom origin movie, because it was by Sony, and and without spoiling anything, and when you watch it that way. They say it's not, but if you watch it that way, it would have been the most badass Venom origin story for the most badass Venom movie. It's so you with that.
No, you're not lying.
Cool about it. It's a bunch of astronauts on a space station, and they're all smart, and they're all coming up with how do we, figure out this problem, and and they're coming up with why don't we try this? Why don't we try this? Why don't we try this? They're failing. It's like The Thing. It's not working. But they're trying, and they're coming up with not bad ideas,
Right. Oh, Burt Reynolds is Deadpool, Frank. Only if you could get him chewing gum under his mask and get his mustache on top of the mask.
I'm trying to get my girlfriend to watch Deliverance right now, because Deliverance, I want, in part, not only is it classic and sort of a horror movie, I want her to see peak Burt Reynolds. I want her to see this basically is why Burt Reynolds is a big deal. It's hard to understand if you've never seen why.
Right. Right. Yeah. There is no Cannonball Run without Deliverance.
No, there's no anything. He's not in Boogie Nights. He's not none of that's happening without Deliverance.
Without Deliverance. Yep. Those were the type of horror movies that I watched. They wasn't really horror movies, but I was from North Carolina, so it's you could end up in Deliverance. You can end up in Deliverance in Maine, absolutely.
I'll argue Deliverance is for sure a horror movie. That movie, and what's really freaky about it is it's as you're suggesting, all totally plausible. This absolutely could happen exactly like.
But another movie like that is not a horror, but kind of is Falling Down.
Yeah.
With it's this guy is having the worst day. He can't get breakfast. He's trying to get to his daughter. He is, he's a monster to these gangbangers that try to rob him. That was the worst mistake. Yeah. That was the worst mistake. He was Spawn in corporate clothes. You know what I mean? He was ruthless. He was laser focused, and he was a killer. Just a fun movie. For my little pea brain at the time that didn't understand why I found it fascinating, but now it's now that's
weird. Yeah, and you could totally picture that movie told strictly from the perspective of the Duvall character, where there is this weird figure out there doing this crazy stuff, and he's just barely missing him throughout the whole movie. It would come off like a weird horror serial killer movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could turn him into this legend until you saw him in a short sleeve white dress shirt and a necktie with horn rimmed glasses. That's so cool. You think you're gonna meet Batman or the Joker, and then it's this guy. With a pocket protector, exactly.
Yeah, pocket protector. Yeah,
and a unicorn toy. He's trying to get to his daughter.
A snow globe or whatever. Yeah, right. Yeah.
since you mentioned Batman, people are like going a little bit of crazy because of the new Batman movie where the Riddler looks more like a serial killer with the whole mask covered up and everything. You have to look at the concept.
I haven't seen that either. I haven't seen much on this new Batman movie. I'm trying to be as cold about it as I can. Yeah.
I mean, look, I love Batman. I'll see it, I'm sure. And
yeah, I'll definitely watch it. Yeah.
Robert Pattinson is like, he gets I don't know. It's weird. I remember when it first came out, everyone was like just hammering it with like the Twilight stuff. And it's like, the guy's a legit actor. Like,
he's not Edward Cullen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, have you seen him in anything else? Are you really going to bag on him for some movie he did? Like, it's kind of like, I don't know. People like want to bring up Titanic when Leo DiCaprio is in a Scorsese movie or something. It's like, would you shut up? Like,
right.
This guy took a job. Leave him alone.
He took a job that he's still getting paid for.
Yeah, you should be so lucky.
Exactly.
Imagine
if somebody did that. Imagine if somebody did that to us, Norm. Like, hey, Jason, you still flinging popcorn?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm 40 years old.
Yeah, Gary's coming out with a new comic. You mean the Gary who worked at Subway at high school?
Yes. Yeah, I'll be sure to read that.
Give me a break. Yeah.
Oh man, that's good stuff, man. What a fun anniversary episode this has been, guys. Different, very different than what I was expecting, but like, why not?
We did a little. No, this was.
But
great.
It was fun. It was fun. Like, we all have. It's one of those things. Like, Gary has wrote a really big book. I wrote, one pagers and stuff like that. You wrote minis. And I just thought it was fun because,
And I
we don't have too.
I've written other stuff. I got a lot of stuff that I've written.
I know you have. I know. I know. But it's just great.
The minis is current, but
yeah,
you've got.
But it was just great to see us come together and come up with something on the spot.
That was pretty dope. I really thought that all the stories were good. So I think that was fun.
We should do it again sometime. That was fun. It's a good creative exercise. It's a good.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or like we can cardio group. And next time we can do a little bit of drawing. Like, come up with this.
I'm in for that. Yeah. Sure. I'm down for whatever.
Because
the mini man.
In terms of in terms of sides of the brain, I find it way easier to talk while I'm drawing than talk while I'm writing. I can't. Sure. Like, that's why 100%. I had to it's like I can't. But like, if we were drawing, I could probably talk the whole time. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guys,
all right, well,
thanks, man.
Gary, everyone who's been supporting us.
Jason.
What's that?
Where do you get your ideas from? I'm just kidding. I'm just forget it. It's an inside joke.
That's funny.
Jeez. Oh man, Gary, man, you're freaking awesome, man. I love it.
That's funny. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Gary.
Thank you for letting me share in your 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got to get you like Ronnie, a golden jacket or something because you've been on so many times.
I need something. I need a badge.
Yeah. You need to have you should just get like a graphic with a keyboard in front of you. You can be like Paul Schaefer. Like, we'll keep you involved in the conversation. Yeah. And like, you're the piano man. I love it. But we'll do a regular keyboard.
I should be able to come into something.
Mm-hmm.
Every week we'll challenge you to come up with a song for our episodes.
Oh, that's right. I forgot when he used to do that. He used to just come up with a crazy song on the.
Mm-hmm. That's when Letterman was like super fun.
Yeah,
but
really silly and weird. Yeah.
Hey, all good things must come to an end. However,
right. Appreciate everyone who's been supporting the show, coming along. Even the ones who don't have time to watch it live, but just comment in the chats. We really appreciate everything, and it's been really great, and loved how the channel's been growing. So as always, see y'all next week, and we're gonna pick up back up from American Vampire.
Across me to Ronnie. I like it. American Vampire next week again, guys. Y'all be good. Good night. Thank you for coming by.
Later.